here's a big thing, being open to how it happens. You know, if we, I think a lot of times, I know I've been guilty of this, where I get a preconceived idea that it's got to look a certain way. You know, I've got, like, for example, the typical rock star thought, which is pretty much gone now, is like, I'm going to get discovered and,
Hmm.
sign and climb on a tour bus or a jet and happily ever after.
Yesterday, I wasn't sure if I was recording. I realized later, I was like, oh no, where is it? But I was good. This is another episode of the Automate and Grow podcast. My guest today was nominated by two other guests. This is Chad Bourquin of Dream Big Series and the band, let me get this straight, Big Time Grain Company, right?
Yes.
Chad, I almost called you Charles. That's someone else. Chad, thank you for joining me today.
Yeah. Appreciate you having me on.
Now you're doing some interesting things, and it's not often that two really innovative guys would nominate another guy in the same person. So, Scott Krauger is one person that you do work with, right?
Yeah, I do. Yeah.
And the other guy is Bob Sager.
Right.
So, tell me, like, what are you working on, and why do these guys nominate you?
Well, man, I'm working on a lot, but just to keep it condensed, like the Dream Big series is, I started playing guitar when I was a kid because somebody came through my high school in a band with something similar to what we're doing with the Dream Big series. I was 17 and these guys were rocking out and they had some kind of message that I don't remember what it was, but it was political. All I know is that my buddy turns to me and says, "Why don't you start playing guitar and we'll start a band?" And I'm like, "Okay."
Sure.
The one sentence changed my life the rest of my life.
Oh, okay.
And so I went home and started learning how to play guitar and tried the best I knew how. We started this little garage band and practicing, and took us 6 months to get two songs down. But we got this gig in this town meeting in the same room I saw that concert in, and like 300 or 400 people show up to this meeting.
Oh, wow. Okay.
And I'm just, it's like, it was intense. And these people were there. They're all, everybody's connected in a town that size. So everybody's cheering like we were rock stars. It was probably pretty bad. But so
I'm having
I left
flashbacks
that.
to like when I was like 12 and doing talent competitions and
Yeah.
playing.
Yeah, about that.
Since you were a little older, so you probably had a little more self-awareness than I did.
Yeah, maybe a little
I was
bit.
like, didn't know how bad I was.
Well, and I didn't either, but I found out soon because when I heard we got a new practice place, and I stopped, was driving down the street and saw the door open, so I decided to stop in and check it out. I walked down these stairs, and I get to the bottom of the stairs, and there's my band reformed without me with another guitar player, and
Oh no.
so I found out that I was no longer in there, and I went home and just like, I was upset because I thought this is what I want to do, and I got mad. I'm going to show them. And anyway, long story short, I had to. There was nobody in town to teach the kind of guitar I wanted to learn. I started driving 100 miles one way every Sunday to take guitar lessons,
Oh wow. Oh my God,
and
that's commitment.
did that for 6 months. I was practicing probably 3 to 5 hours a day, and it just ended up turning into something that I was just super passionate about, and I've been doing it ever since.
That's
So
amazing. And so tell me a little more. So Dream Big Series, you had mentioned that it's a concert and almost like a seminar wrapped into one. How does that
right.
work?
Well, yeah. So, and as part of my story goes, it's the whole deal with the Dream Big series is discover your inner rock star. When that back when I was getting going, I ended up getting picked up by a band that went on for 5 years. We traveled 4 to 6 nights a week, and this was in spite of my dad telling me, you need to get a backup plan because you can't make money in music. And I ignored that. But when that band came to an end, which was at the end of about 5 years, just because one guy left, the singer, I mean, the first thing that came back into my mind was like, I guess my dad was right. I guess I got to get a backup plan. I spent the next 15 years going through 3 different backup plans.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Um,
Yeah. Well, that's interesting. Were they
so
startups or were like kind of jobs?
no, one of them was one of them was the entertainment agency that was booking us. So that's where I learned to book bands.
Okay.
And that eventually became very beneficial. Second one was a network marketing company selling vitamins. And the third one was a startup advertising company that after the '08 crash, it just, I didn't have the energy to keep going because I didn't like it to begin with. And so about
That'll
70,
inform your decision really fast, right? When it's tough and then you don't like it on top of it.
oh man, I know. Yeah. So I can't blame the crash. That was just the beginning of the end. Uh, and,
I can imagine.
but that was, about it would die a slow death. But I remember sitting in my studio in my house just one day thinking, I just can't do this anymore. If I'm going to go under, I at least want to go under doing something I love doing.
That makes sense.
And so I just said, all right, I'm going to either end up on the top of this mountain or dead on the side. So back to the Dream Big series, that the message we talk about is, figuring out what your inner rock star is, or your zone of genius. So many people spend their life not in their zone of genius. They spend it in what's called the zone of excellence, which is something we've gotten maybe really good at and are making so much money at,
Mm.
or enough money at that we're comfortable enough in it. But it's not that thing that just makes time disappear. And man, I can make time disappear like that if I pick up a guitar.
Oh, wow. Okay.
3 or 4 hours would just go away, and I don't have to be in front of anybody for that to happen. It can be still, learning something I learned from some 16-year-old kid on YouTube to, still today.
I love it. That's
Um,
amazing, though.
but
So I find the problem with that sometimes is you'll almost do it for free or forever. How did you cross that chasm where you're like, no, I want to make my living doing this too? Because there's things I can do and I will do for free, and I'm probably better than them than even what I normally would do. So I don't know if that was
well,
part of your journey, but
yeah, man, that's the second part of what we talk about in the Dream Big series is first, once you figure out what that zone of genius is or the inner rock star, then how do you get it? And so the first step of that comes, there's a lot of mindset work involved. My brother and I have had a coach now for 6 years. We meet with every week.
oh,
Um,
cool.
he's kept us from flying off the rails many times. He's kept us, it's just my brother and I are the only 2 siblings in the family. And so there's challenges working through that even.
Yeah, right.
You can tend to take each other for granted because of, being so close. And, but then, once you get past the mindset work, then it becomes about what are you doing with your time? How are you treating people? How do you find the right people to work with to help your team? And being open. Here's a big thing: being open to how it happens. If I think a lot of times, I know I've been guilty of this, where I get a preconceived idea that it's got to look a certain way. I've got, like, for example, the typical rock star thought, which is pretty much gone now, is like, I'm going to get discovered and,
Mhm.
sign and climb on a tour bus or a jet and happily ever after. You know, we know that doesn't happen anymore. But there's still a belief that something external is going to come in and take me to success if I just believe it long enough. And yes, you have to have a solid belief, but then we have to have an expectation and work towards that expectation and be open to the different ways it would happen. I used to think that these keynote concerts were the cheesiest thing ever. You
Okay.
know, had no desire of doing it, but I got back when I was in um, in the advertising company. I got asked to go speak at a career day for middle schoolers on sales.
Oh, wow, really?
Yeah, so I was following an attorney, I think, and a insurance guy. It might have been banker too. Man, these 300 kids were they were comatose. by the time I got up there.
Well, they had to listen to the lawyer and the insurance guy first.
I
So
know.
you're like, man, this is a you're a hard act to follow. I'm trying to figure that out, but
So I got up there. I'm like, I hadn't planned anything other than just talking about sales, but I could tell that was not going to go. I said, who wants to hear about sales? And like maybe two hands. I said, well, who wants to hear about a rock band? And they all went up. And it's like, I had
oh,
nothing prepped. And so I just told them my story. And I got done and everybody was like freaking out. They loved it. And,
mhm.
and, the guy that invited me there said, hey, can you come back in a few weeks and you want to bring your band? And I'm like,
Oh my God, that's crazy.
so in the meantime, I had gone and talking to the guy that told me about this concept to begin with. And I said, hey, I'd like to hear a little more about that. And, when we walk into a school or corporation with this thing, we are way ahead of the game. Number one, because like, especially at school, because we're getting them out of class. Number two, we're getting them out of class for a concert, So we've won them over just from the idea that, they don't have to go to class for an hour and they're getting a concert. And they're very open by the time we get to the message to hearing what it is. Plus we use people, I've got video footage from guys like Lester Stale, who plays drums for Kelly Clarkson, and the percussion player for Zach Brown, and
Oh,
guitar
cool.
player for Florida Georgia Line, all helping us with this message in little snippets between songs. And so, we get done with this deal and we go do a meet and greet over lunch, and you can tell the impact it has because they are lining up to talk. They
That's
want to know more. It's pretty fun way to play music.
so even for the kids, like you're saying, it's find your inner rock star. It's like find the thing that you love to do the most and then bridge that gap and just do it. Like take action and
Yep.
connect it to what your everyday action is. And I like what you said before, which is be open to how that arrives or how you arrive at that, right? Because it might look a little different than what you have this preconceived notion of. And sometimes that gets in our way, right?
Probably will. Yeah.
Yeah.
Probably will look different. Yeah.
But I think the thing that always drives me nuts about whether it's acting or music is you kind of touched on this, is the permission. It's like I'm waiting for someone to give me permission to do the thing.
Yeah.
And what you're saying is no, like, have an end expectation of how this is gonna work out and work towards it.
Yeah.
It's a lot more practical. And I think that's where a lot of people kind of majority of people probably get stuck in those spaces, right?
They do, you know. And the other thing, like especially in music, well, and there's a lot of things that this happened with because of the internet and all that. In music, there was this starving artist, rock star.
Right.
There was not this in between middle ground, really, that there is now. I mean, there is a massive middle ground of opportunity available now for musicians if they are willing to do the work.
I'm on a webcast.
Whatever. Go ahead. Sorry, I'll go to that.
Yeah, it's all good. Yeah, so there's this massive middle ground available for musicians if they're willing to do the work, because we've just found that there's a lot of opportunity. There's so many things, like we can do custom songs for people, for corporations, for people getting married, for all these things. Write a song specifically for people.
Oh, that's interesting.
We can do there's a lot of money in music licensing if you are writing stuff that will fit behind the movies and the TV and the ads and all that. The private event market is big, but you got to be willing to do what it takes to get into those,
Because they probably take a little bit of elbow grease to get in, right? It's not just showing up at a concert and having adoring fans. It's like you got to sell someone on the idea to do those things.
Yeah, for sure. And it can seem like it's like, how do you get from point A to point Z if I don't know what all these steps are? I mean, I definitely understand that feeling. I mean, that's why we created this program that it's called Play Music Make More, where we actually teach artists how to go from these steps. Where are you at right now? Okay, Now, how do we get you to the next step, and one step at a time until, you're making the kind of income, even if it's just part-time. It's way better to make, let's say two, three, four, or $5,000 per gig playing part-time, the gigs you want, than to be busting it out at $500 a night,
Right.
playing till 2 a.m. every morning. I mean, that is hard. And there's a lot of young guys that love that, but the older you get, it's like, man, I don't know if I keep doing this.
So I think my previous experience with musicians is they're not real business savvy, right? And they
Correct.
have this like romanticized version of themselves that they're trying to live out. And so how do you bridge that? Because it sounds like, I mean, you've got a program for musicians. Are they open to the idea of, well, you've got to do the business stuff too? Because that's kind of what you're teaching them, right? Is how to like
Yeah.
go from.
Well, if they're not open, they're not going to be interested in our program.
Yeah, there you go.
So,
That's good.
the ones I'm working with now, they're very open. I think it's kind of like, it's like what I said to those middle schoolers in that first day, that career day. I said, when only 2 raised their hand for sales, it's like, well, that makes sense, because you normally don't go into sales unless you failed about 4 or 5 other things.
Yeah, you saw your dad.
Right? I mean, that's not totally true.
Dad brings home big fat commission checks, but other than that,
Yeah, I mean, there's people that just, it's natural.
Inherited it.
But you don't normally go looking for help if you think you know it all. And so, our clients are either probably going to be musicians that have maybe been in a similar boat to us, where they've been through a few backup plans and are fed up with it, or parents of kids that are just getting started that say, man, I'm a little concerned about my kid going into this industry. Is there anything I can do to keep them from falling off a cliff on this deal? Ending up signing bad deals, bad situations,
That's
that sort of
crazy
thing.
too. I mean, that's a very weird. There's a lot of really horrible agreements in that space.
Yeah, for sure.
So I think it makes a lot of sense if you can get over that hump of having no inertia and momentum. Because I feel like that's when you plug into a label, if a label actually agrees to work with you, it's because they've got something. They've got distribution or audience or lists or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
That's almost the thing, right? Whereas now between YouTube, SoundCloud, all these other platforms, you have the potential to build your own list. So I don't know if that's some of the stuff you touch on. Like when an artist goes in, it's called play music, make more, right?
Right.
High level, like what are the points that it hits on?
Well, the actual online training program, it's got 19 modules. So I mean, we're starting from, how do you think, to how do you connect with fans? How do you connect with fans on stage, and how do you connect with fans off stage? How do you build the right promo? We talk about promo videos. We talk about websites. We talk about marketing. We talk about if you need to have your own sound system, and at what point do you add managers, or do you need to add a manager, agents? I mean, we're covering
everything, like the whole shebang.
Yeah. Right.
And any interesting stories that have come out of people taking that?
Actually, this program was just made available within a month ago. So
cool.
Yeah, we're in our first. The interesting story is we were our first clients.
You probably learned by teaching too, right? Like,
right.
You're codifying what you know.
Yeah, we are only teaching what we have done that's worked for us.
Love it.
Or what we've learned from other people. And then I've owned an entertainment agency here in town for probably 11 years. And I represent, I'm sorry, my dog is going crazy downstairs, but I represent shopping centers here in town.
Okay.
And probably book about 70 to 80 bands a year.
Oh, wow.
These shopping centers, I got like 5 or 6 of them, all redirect phone calls right to me if somebody wants to play there.
Oh, cool.
So when I first started getting these clients, these bands all started calling me. And man, I'm telling you, I heard
Oh,
the
that's smart.
worst, ugliest, best pitches ever in a very short period of time. And I realized very quickly, it's like, man, there is a serious need
Just the
of
basic.
education in this area.
Oh
You
yeah.
know, how to even just talk to a potential person interested in buying the band. So we get into all that stuff.
So have you had people in the program yet, or is it just getting launched?
Yep.
You have.
Yep.
Okay.
We've got a few. I've got 6 signed up right now. Yeah.
Great. Okay. Super. So I guess TBD. We'll have to come back, and your dogs are freaking out, but
Yeah.
poor guys. What kind of dogs do you have?
I think dinner just showed up. So.
Oh, dinner showed up. I was like, great. That's hilarious. Well, okay, so TBD. We'll have to have you back and see how things work out and the response
Yeah.
that people have to it, because I think you're hitting on something that, I mean, talk about a chasm, right? People go to these colleges, which I get, so there's probably good education from kind of these Full Sail or other community college programs that maybe have music programs or um, music marketing and
Yeah.
those sort of things. Actually, I know some of them. Maybe I'll introduce you at some point, which is Kevin Lyman.
Yeah.
You know him from the Vans Warp Tour.
Oh man. Yeah. I'd love to meet him.
Yeah, he's an interesting guy. He's actually a professor at, am I getting this wrong? USC. Yeah, it's not UCLA, is it? Oh my God, it's so bad. I should know that. I went down to his class anyway, but it was really interesting sitting in his class pre-COVID,
Mm-hmm.
February, and it just grows and grows because he's legit, right? He's
Yeah.
teaching marketing and social media marketing and a lot of that
Yeah.
aspect of like promotion, PR, and he started the Vans Warp Tour, and then he promoted or produced Lollapalooza.
Oh man.
So he's an
Yeah.
interesting guy. Actually, at some point we'll have to have Kevin
Fascinating.
on the podcast. I forgot that I got to follow up on that, but yeah, it's interesting to see from that perspective. Um, the kids really learning about it. So I guess there are good programs out there, but I like this
Absolutely.
online program. It's really interesting, and I'm really big on the self-education market. I think
Yeah.
it promotes action, right? It promotes people doing stuff as opposed to it being an intellectual 4-year experience and hopefully that something comes of it at the end.
Right. Yeah. Well, we continue to take courses ourselves all the time. You know, you just can't stop learning.
Yeah, exactly. That makes total sense. Okay, is there anything we haven't touched on that you think is important? I know you got some interesting stuff going on with Scott. I don't know if you want to talk about any of that or anything that you got.
Well, yeah. I'm way out of my lane with him. I don't, it's funny that I ended up in this spot with him, but it's simply, I believe in what he's doing. And I've got years of connections to people that could help push this through.
Great.
And I would love to see it push through in our area because we make our living a lot on live entertainment and, want it back. So
I love it. Yeah, because he's got that's right. He's got some stuff in ag, but he's also got some stuff in like immunity and biotech and yeah.
Yep.
Okay. And all
Yep.
top secret. I don't know if I signed an NDA with him or not, but
Yeah.
Well, Chad, I want to acknowledge you and thank you for being my guest, first of all. And the work that you're doing with both of those programs is really interesting.
I appreciate you having me on, Michael.
All right, we're going to wrap with a few things. The first one is, how do people get in touch with you?
Well, if they want to communicate directly with me, LinkedIn's a great way to do it.
Okay,
It's just
great.
Chad Bourquin.
We'll put that in the show notes.
Okay. And then about the band site is bigtimegrain.com. Dream Big Series is dreambigseries.com.
Love it. Okay, awesome.
And then the Play Music Make More is playmusicmakemore.com.
You have the best domain names. They're exactly what your products are.
It works out.
Love it. All right. If you are the sum of the 5 people you spend the most time with, who do you, Chad, spend the most time with?
Like the specific people?
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, so my brother.
What's his name, by the way?
What's that?
What's his name, by the way?
Brett Bourquin.
Okay.
Yep. Of course, my wife, Tammy Bourquin. And then right now, I'm spending a lot of time with our kids because they're all home. So
Great. Yeah. You're becoming a teacher or?
Well,
Everybody's become
they're
a
older.
homeschool teacher,
Yeah,
right?
they're getting.
Getting the best education ever,
Yeah. So,
personalized.
our coach, Brian Sorrell, spent a lot of time with him, and
Great.
so where the more I'm at 4 there.
I stopped counting. How many kids do you have?
I've got 3 kids.
Yeah, that's 5.
Oh, that's at least 5. Yeah.
I think we might be. Yeah. That's great though. And if there's someone else, I don't know if there's someone else, but
Those are the main ones. Yeah.
that's awesome. Okay. All right. How are you, Chad, changing the world?
Well, besides what I'm talking to Scott about, the Dream Big series is just, we're so passionate about that, impacting kids and adults, just helping them to believe that they can dream, and they can actually go after it if they do the right things.
I love it. And that's getting to the kids is important. So I'm glad that you're going that road as well as the corporations because they need a little help too sometimes.
Yeah.
All right. So the final thing is when we have interesting people on the podcast, we like you to nominate other interesting people. So we usually talk to experts or entrepreneurs about their journey and the person they serve, types of problems they solve. So who would you, Chad, like to nominate as a future guest of the Automate and Grow podcast?
Has Monty Clark been nominated?
No, I don't think so.
Yeah, he'd be a really good one.
Monty Clark. I don't think so. Unless Bob did that, but I don't recall. I know he nominated 2 people. But so what does Monty do?
Monty is my LinkedIn coach.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah. So
Cool.
that's different than the other coach, but he's been training me for 6 months on LinkedIn, and just it's been game changing.
Oh, wow.
It's
That's
the reason
great.
I know Bob and Scott, honestly.
Oh, got it. Yeah, because I was going to say all of us are fairly active on LinkedIn, right? So
Yeah.
got it. Okay, so Monty Clark, you've been nominated as a future guest of the Automate and Grow podcast. We love LinkedIn. It's one of our major channels. So happy to talk to Monty. Chad, I want to thank you for being a guest today, and hopefully we'll get to connect again and have you back.
Sounds good. Thanks, Michael.
No problem. This has been another episode of the Automate and Grow podcast. We will see you on a future episode, hopefully with Monty, of Automate and Grow.